So I'm going out to the garden this morning. It was just above freezing last night. 2 days ago it was in the 50s. And so I got my sweater on. I've got my hat on. Trying to get my jacket on. And I have some seeds that I need to go out and get put in the garden. So we're going to go do that. Girls are still asleep. Baby robins are not quite talking. Hey, Keeping It Dutch, how are you? And Wolf Mountain, how are you? So you get to see my cold, back to basics homestead. Hello, hello. So I already have my garden seeds out there. I went out there with a sweater this morning, and it just wasn't quite enough. So we now have the, oh, hey Danny, how are you? Oh, Keeping It Dutch says it's 96 there already. We've had some temperatures in the 80s, and that was nice. But our weather goes up and down really, really fast. So if you guys remember, we had set up this watering system into the bed, but it turns out it was a secondhand barrel, food grade, but it had liquid smoke in it. And even though it was well rinsed, it wasn't well rinsed enough. And there was some residual. So taking off my cage. "95 degrees expected today in southern Illinois." I don't know what the temperature is supposed to be. We might be in the 70s today. But again, we can be 30 degrees at night. Where is my son? We can be 30 degrees at night and then have 80-degree days. So there, that is better. Okay. You're on the Air Creek garden bed, and it's a little bit, they're individual bricks, so it's a little interesting. L2 Survive, hello, hello. So they have storms. We've had a lot of rain this summer, like 3 times a day there for a bit. These are the strawberries I planted, and you can see that liquid smoke burned them. And so I am hand watering them at this point with well water in gallon jugs. All right, sunny sky is here. Hello, hello. Okay, so I did have everything set up on the other side so that I could actually reach the bed I was trying to plant into, but the sun is not cooperating. So I may have to try and read it from over there. The camera needs to be here, apparently. Getting started on homesteading. Hello, hello. Okay, can you guys still hear me? Farmal Fanatic, hello. If you can't hear me, tell me, and I will try to do it a little bit differently. This is my seed bag. Seed bag. And a lot of this is free seeds that were sent to me from friends who wanted to see that I was going to make it in Tulsa and that I did have garden seeds. And so a lot of this is from hardware stores, and it's expired seed, but it works just fine. Most of what I planted as experiments. I can hear you with my right ear, but not my left ear. Oh, Danny, I didn't hear what you said. I hope it pops back up, or I didn't read it. Okay, so some of the things that I want to plant today, because it's that appropriate time. Okay, Danny said, could you get rid of the liquid smoke using vinegar? I might be able to. I think what happened was there was just a little tiny pocket of it somewhere that got missed, because you can shake it, you can put water in it and then roll it around and clean it that way, but you can't really get your arm into it, and you can't really see into it because it just has that little hole in the top. The whole lid doesn't come off. And so my opinion on what happened is that there was just a little bit up in a corner, and then once we added water, it started to dissolve. Where can I get comfrey root? Oh, what is the name? Did you see my video on comfrey root and my source. Oh, dang it. He's in Southern California. He's the guy that got me my comfrey root when I was in Tulsa. He sent me a big old box, and it was nice. It was really healthy. It started right off. Let's see. Somebody Smallwood said something. Okay, so right now I'm putting in cucumbers. My soil in the bed. If this was a hotbed, I could have planted the first minute I got here, and I could have put in tomatoes when I got here in April. But I didn't have a hotbed going, and this is not a hotbed. This is a hugelkultur, and hugelkultur has wood in it, but not manure. If you put wood in and then you put manure on top of it, and you have wood chips and other things like that, then that's a hotbed because the manure will start to eat the carbon and it will turn into heat. This is a cold bed because all it has in it is wood. There's no manure. So the girls and I built this taller bed. It looks terrible. It looks terrible because we had pallets. I build my hotbeds out of pallets. And with these pallets, none of them were the same size. And so it looks totally wonky. But it's totally going to work because hotbeds work as long as you make them big enough. Good morning. My soaping affair? My souping affair? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It's very, very tiny print. I have one little bean seed that came up. I have radishes all over the place. I have some spinach that's coming up. And I have a whole bunch of other things in here that I've planted. But I always replant. If I see that it's taken a long time to get started, what'll happen is I'll come in and I'll replant. And then as things come up, it'll start to get a little bit overcrowded. And when it does that, I will just feed the older stuff that maybe isn't at its prime to rabbits. Okay, dare to prepare. Let's see. Can I send you a Steelers hoodie? You're awesome. Oh, I have to tell you a funny story. So when the Patriots? Yeah. When the Patriots were fighting this last year, the church that we went to in Tulsa, the quarterback coach. So the coach for the quarterback for the opposing team, was it the Eagles? The coach for that opposing team was in our church. The pastor's son-in-law was the quarterback coach. And I don't know anything about sports. And so I was wearing my Patriots sweatshirt to church every week because it was winter and it was cold. And John started to get really nervous we were going to get lynched because I was wearing this. And it was right in the middle of the Super Bowl. It was right in the middle of it. And I was wearing this shirt at that church. Okay, I cannot see. Okay, somebody say something again so that the writing comes back. Unless I touch it, it doesn't want to come back. So again, the reason that I love hotbeds is because I can plant in April, and it doesn't matter what the temperature outside is. It matters a little bit what the sun is doing because they still need sunlight. But as far as heat, I don't have to worry at all about whether or not those seeds are going to make it because I have that good, warm. You know those heating mats that cost like $20 and then you put your seedlings on top of it? That's what a hotbed does, but it does it for all your plants and you don't have to plug it in. You know what I mean? Okay. Good morning, Dutch. Okay. So I have some, let's see, some beans. I think these are contenders, so they're bush beans. Let's see. Oh, somebody wants mullein. My mullein, I harvested it pretty well for a couple years, and I think I over-harvested it a little bit. I had to go get some wild seeds off the side of the road. I need to find a source for elderberry bushes. Okay, so a great source for elderberry bushes is Rain. Is it Rain Tree? They're in Washington. I think they're in Washington up by Heidi. Rain country. And so it's Rain Tree, and they have like 14 different varieties of elderberries. Some of them taste better than others, some are more highly medicinal, but that's where you can get it. But they're expensive because they are cultivars instead of wild seedlings. You can get wild seedlings from them, but their cultivars are very predictable. The other place you can get it is coldstreamfarm.net, and those ones are seedlings. I think they have 2 varieties, and those are like $1.50 a piece. So if you're wanting to wildcraft and put in an elderberry border, coldstreamfarm.net is fantastic. If you want a specific flavor, you want to go to Rain Tree. Okay. We also planted peanuts this year. Oh, fun. And sweet corn is up. You guys sound like you really have your acts together. Okay. So, if you guys want to know about the seeds that I use, the one that I use now that we're affiliated with is M.I. Gardner, and Mary's Heritage Seeds. She has more variety, many more kinds of seeds than M.I. Gardner, but M.I. Gardner is very inexpensive. His are 99 cents a piece, and they're very healthy. So those kind of go together. My favorite herb catalog is Horizon Herbs. Just don't go overboard. It's really easy to go overboard. And what we're trying to get right now is Mary is sending us a homesteading medicinal kit of seeds. And what that is that all the seeds in it are medicinal in nature. Things like yarrow, maybe true comfrey. I would have to go look at them. I haven't seen the packet yet, so we haven't talked about it yet. And let's see, what else do I have? I have so much that I could plant, but this tiny bed is all that I have the space yet for. Yeah, it's pretty cold. Okay. Oh, hello. Bobby made it. Oh my goodness, this hat does not want to stay on, and it's looking frumpy. Okay, Farmall Fanatic said, how long have you had your YouTube channel? So we started YouTubing back in, I think, 2013. And I did it just because I felt like I had so many things I wanted to share with the world, like this. So this is my hugelkultur bed. I make it with pallets and an old tin. And what I'm going to do is take these, I need to figure out the light. I need to take these edges and fold them down and put some wood over them and screw it down so that I don't have these sharp edges here. This one is the one that, darn it, I'm having struggles with the light. This one is the one that is awful. And the reason is we ran out of long pallets. We just had short pallets. And so what we had to do is brace it with wood. And I need to brace it with wood again at the top. And then on the sides, I have wood to just give it some structural hold togetherness. But it looks awful. We have a lower side and then a taller side. And this side's going to be too tall for the girls to reach into. And I don't want them reaching over the tin. And so I just don't like to have material around the homestead that I have to kind of treat like garbage. I'd rather turn it into something. And really struggling with that, son. The pit that we have out there that we want to put the geodesic dome over, the Aircrete geodesic dome that Darwin is building over at the Honeydew Carpenter, it's going out there, but I have that as my kind of reservoir for old wood that I turn into hugelkultur or that I build stuff with. And so I'm trying to get that cleaned out, which means I need a repository. So my hugelkultur beds. My hands are so cold. My Soaping Affair said, I'm getting ready to order my shed. I'm doing a 16 by 40, same style as yours. It'll be here in 4 weeks. Oh, congratulations. Insulation, insulation, insulation. We lived in it for about 6 weeks without insulation, and we lived in it in cold weather, so that would be April, beginning of May, and then we lived in it in June, still without insulation, so hot weather, and that both were miserable. Without the insulation, it just, it's terrible. Oh, it's so cold. Mother of Many Horses said, it's killing me. I see all kinds of pallets lately, and I have to resist picking them up. I love pallets. And I think it's easy to keep them looking tidy and nice, but I have OCD and like ADD so bad that a lot of times I have a hard time. Oh my goodness, I have squash up. Oh, I should show you guys. I planted, okay, so this bed is carbon and manure. It's layers of old wool, it's layers of hay, and it's layers of goat manure bedding. And I planted, can you see them? I don't know if you can see them. There's my squash. So it looks like a couple of them have come up, and it did almost freeze last night, so it's good that they were so little still, because I didn't see yesterday that they'd come up or I would have covered them. Wolf Mountain said, I have a bunch of pallets and I may just make a bed like that so I can compost. It's hard because my hubby isn't on board 100%. Well, and you can make it different ways. It doesn't have to look like that. You can make something really pretty, but again, if I have something for free, and I'm just using it to create food for my family, I don't feel like it needs to be gorgeous. And not everybody feels that way. In my family, not everybody feels that way. But I really like to not be spending a lot of money on something that I don't know is going to work, which doesn't make any sense because I know that the hotbeds work now. Why don't I just make them prettier? I am so cheap, that's why. Okay, more squash coming up. The reason that I have the squash in this particular bed is that this was going to be the greenhouse, but we had some really, really strong winds just before we left in the fall, and the greenhouse, the plastic on it made it, but the wood that I had used was older, because again, I salvaged it, and the wood snapped. Smallwood Homestead said, my cucumbers are super tall. Hello, thank you. I'm so jealous. Oh, Wolf Mountain doesn't, okay, so your hubby doesn't like the rabbit poop. I don't think rabbit poop smells bad, but we layer it with carbon. We never have manure that isn't layered with carbon, and so when I do this kind of thing, there's never a smell except for when it's first heating up, it'll smell like ammonia. But it's going to be like 160 degrees when it smells like ammonia. You put a probe in there and that's how hot it gets. So the reason I have the squash down here is because squash needs to be able to sprawl. And I am keeping the weeds out as I go, but eventually it's going to be thick enough in here that it can hold its own on keeping weeds out because I let it get a head start. And I don't have the squash directly in manure. There's manure around it, but it's layered with carbon so that it is being eaten by the bacteria and creating a little tiny bit of heat. So again, this is the same principle as the hugelkultur hotbed, but just out and not as deep. Let's see. Oh, did Off Grid with Doug and Stacy make it in? Oh, I didn't see you. Hello. Yeah, it is super chilly this morning. We did start the rocket stove again last night. And the other thing we need to do is Paige and Kaya have those baby birds, those little robins. And it's almost time for them to graduate out to the chicken coop because they are flying and they're trying to fly all over the house. And the girls are really worried they're going to get eaten out in the chicken coop, but I think they'll be fine. And it's going to be really hard when I have to explain to them that they're going to be happier out in the wild and not being kept as little pets. That's going to be rough because they have worked their butts off. The terrible looking hotbed, the awful looking hotbed, and a lot of the piles of wood and all the other work that's been done, they have done that in exchange for, if they can't find enough worms, I go buy them night crawlers. We've been feeding the baby birds raw hamburger, which has worked really well, but they kind of need to switch that up and have actual bugs, and the girls have been working their butts off for that. And I don't know how to tell them that eventually those little birds are going to need to just fly away. Wolf Mountain said, I see you use wool in a lot of your beds. Would wool from hair sheep work like that? I believe so. To my knowledge, feathers and hair are very high in nitrogen. We have used rabbit pellets, as in rabbit pelts in our compost before, and they break down just fine. Just make sure you have everything layered in, and it shouldn't be a problem. Oh, off grid with Doug and Stacy said my mom just left the door open. They're not quite that big yet. They're flying in little leaps and bounds, little hops, but they're not quite big enough to really take off and fly. But the girls are taking good care of them. I don't know how we're gonna make the transition. Every time we go anywhere, the robins go with us, and they just cover them up in a little basket. If we're at a store, one of the girls has to stay out in the truck with the window down to keep them from getting too hot. I mean, it's been a labor of love. Yes, Smallwood Homestead said the book Compost Everything by David the Good is an awesome resource. It is a great resource. The one that I look is Hotbeds by Jack First. And what he does is he explains that anything that is carbon based, anything, you know, if it's plastics, you don't want to use it. But other than that, you can pretty much compost and layer and use whatever. I actually use logs and old 2x4s that haven't been treated as part of my carbon in my compost pile, because I don't turn my compost, I plant into the top of it. Let's see. Danny Bowl said you can use a car battery to make the worms come up. Seen that somewhere. I'm sure you could. I might not trust my kids with a car battery, especially if they're irritated with each other. Dare to Prepare said, where are you getting your carbon? Are you burning to create charcoal? So carbon is going to be anything that is like straw or wood chips, or to some degree grass. If you use alfalfa hay, that's nitrogen. I use paper products, paper towels, paper plates, anything like that that I have in the house goes into the compost unless it has a glossy finish. The wool, this is not the first time that I've used the wool. I've used it in my really high raised hugelkultur beds. And that's pretty much what we're at right now. I need to get out here with the scythe and get the things cut down. What else are we doing? Oh, and Catherine is going to be here on Sunday, on this Sunday. We had run out of videos that we were doing together for the preparedness, weekend preparedness video. And so she's coming out, and that will be fun. We'll see what she thinks of the off-grid cabin. She'll be sleeping on our rocket stove bench, which is fun. Wolf Mountain Homestead said, where did you get your scythe? I believe I got it from the Scythe Connection, but I could be wrong. I know I learned about it from the Scythe Connection, and actually we're trying to find a source right now that we can put on our website. I also have the little hand scythes, and I love them, and they're easier to give to kids to go out and cut things down than the big scythe. So we are working on that. We're trying to do something that would be a group buy where people could buy scythes and Berkey water filters and pressure cookers, pressure canners as a group buy to get a cheaper price. So we're looking into that right now, but it's taking some time to get everything we want to put on it together and then offer it up. Oh, honey, how are you? I was going to call you this morning, and then I'm like, wait a minute, the kids are still asleep and it's not windy. I could go out and do a live stream. Smallwood said, I finally learned how to use a chainsaw. I have used a chainsaw a couple times, and I don't like loud noises like that, and so it's not my favorite thing. It took a long time just to learn how to use a skill saw because of that. So if you learned how to use it, go team. Oh, wow, a battery-powered chainsaw. So it must be really little if it's battery powered, right? Hey, Deep South, how are ya? If you guys haven't checked out Off Grid with Doug and Stacy and Deep South Homestead, you totally should. They are so legit. Oh, what was it you were doing the other day that I was watching, and it just, I'm trying to remember which show it was. Maybe I was just reminiscing. Maybe that's what it was. Okay. Yes, it's a small chainsaw. Cool. Well, I can't milk yet. I've been up since 5. Kids aren't up. I need to be going and moving some pallets for the renters because they wanted to get some hay. We are right in a spot where we'll have some really good dry heat, and then as soon as the hay cures, it'll rain. And then it'll rain on the cured hay, and then they'll have to turn it again, and they'll have to bale it again. So right now we're having some good dry weather without any rain, and they want to go get some hay that they can get into storage for winter while it's still really nice and dry. Wolf Mountain said, my parents have a battery-powered chainsaw, and it sucked. I hope yours is better. I would imagine that it would. Chainsaws have to do a lot of ripping, a lot of tearing, and it takes a lot of battery power to do something like that. Smallwood said, mine is an electric chainsaw, small but enough for me. It's all that counts. Gilbrook Farm tested a 40-volt chainsaw and was quite happy with it. That's awesome. J.K. Nokel said, woo, food morning, everyone. Or did you mean good morning? Smallwood Homestead said, Julianne, have you done a video on how to make lip balm? I haven't. I've never made lip balm. Catherine makes lip balm. Are you talking about my cold sore? We had, it's called cheese bread. And it's supposedly supposed to be paleo, but I wonder if they had some rice that got mixed into there, because the girls and I we all have this little cold sore thing going on right now. Mother of Many Horses said, I'll need a chainsaw. I need to find one I can handle. Tim and Amy's Home said, I'm going to show a video with it soon. It cuts well. Awesome. I will look forward to seeing that. So I have my little bit of garden planted, and I don't have my seeds put back up, and I need to water them, but my water would be too cold to water them right now because it's just above freezing. See ya. Have fun with your canning. So, as on any homestead, what happens is things start to get littered about. There's the watering system we had to pull out. All that. And I think what I'm going to do is cut the hose on the bucket and move it over to the off-grid shower, which is where we keep all of our laundry, our off-grid laundry implements. And what I'm going to do is set it up high enough that I actually have a little bit of drop so I can get water into a bucket out of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it down and roll it around, see if we can get the liquid smoke out. And yeah, I'll probably use vinegar and some baking soda at one point. Shake it really good. And then if we can get the liquid smoke out, what I'm going to do is leave it there in the off-grid shower and have the kids bring 2 gallons each a day to fill it up, and on top of the regular water they bring for cooking and hand washing and showers. And that way at the end of the week, it will be full when it's time to do laundry. So instead of them having to haul all the cold rinse water all at one time, instead what we can do is just have those 2 gallons a day from each of them, and for me too, and get it filled up so that when we do laundry, it's already full. Wolf Mountain said, I gotta go start school with the kids, then take care of my animals in the rain. Sounds awesome. What time is it there? I think it's about 6:30 or 7. But as you can see behind me, I do like to use garbage to keep my property tidy, and I know that doesn't make any sense, but I like to put my containers together with things that I feel make my property look untidy, and then I'll plant things into them, and I will hold animals in with them, and you know, probably not the most picturesque, but it works for me. Okay, you are in the UK. Another day of melting in the garden. Sounds like heaven. Can you see my breath? I can see my breath right now. It's so cold. So what I had done out here is when we cleared out the cabin and I cleared out the deck of all my tools. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Look at what my kids did. I've been using my garden shears to cut wire. That would explain why my garden shears aren't working so well lately. These are not metal clippers. I will take those back. So what we had done was we have this old truck bed toolbox, and we had put all of our tools in that. But what we need to do is be able to put hay in here for the goats. I didn't know my renters were going to be needing or wanting to buy hay at this point so quickly, and so I had it already just to be as like a bit of a workshop. But now we need to move it again. And little Paige has her little bird flying station for her robins. Okay, so this is her bird flying station. She wanted to have somewhere for the birds to fly off of. But, let's see, I've been on for about half hour and I don't see a whole lot of other conversation. Mother of Many Horses said I had to turn the heat on this morning. Unheard of in June, right? Oh, I'm glad you watched it, Rex. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Smallwood Homestead said, Julianne, glad I'm a prepper. I lost my job yesterday. It does feel good, doesn't it? When John hurt his back, we didn't know how much money we would have coming in, but we knew how much food we had saved. We knew that I had 2 years worth of food storage for all of our poultry. We had a year's worth of food for all of our goats. We had just bought hay. We had 2 years worth of storage in firewood. And so when he hurt his back, it was like, well, we'll survive. We need to kind of get on the ball about getting another source of income, but it was really nice to know that we wouldn't be on food stamps. So I need to go get this stuff moved. If you guys don't have any more questions, I'll go put up my seeds and put on some gloves and see if I can keep from freezing. I've got goats to milk this morning and all that kind of thing. Okay, girl said if I use vinegar for weeds, then cut them, won't be a problem to put it in the compost. No, you can totally put it in the compost. Okay, so hopefully this is a good video for you guys for today. I wanted to get up on Sunday and do a live show, and it just didn't happen. I had one that was already scheduled that went up public, but it just didn't happen for the live show. So hopefully this is good enough and you guys enjoy the replay. I do prefer to do live shows on Sunday, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So we'll talk to you later.